Palmetto State Armory Rock. Let's check it out. The 5.7 by 28 caliber has always been really interesting to me. They first developed it in 1990 through NATO with the FN PS90, and then the FN 5.7, which was a pistol to fire that same round. It's a small neck down little bullet. It is center fire, and this was actually designed for more close quarter type combat. It doesn't over penetrate, and yet it has really high velocities and can actually go through body armor, at least level 1 or level 2 body armor. And it's one of those calibers that was designed for combat. Since that time, there have been a number of different firearms that have been brought to market, including the Ruger 5.7, which we've done a review on it, and now the PSA Rock. One of the things about that caliber is super light recoil. I mean, it's almost like shooting a 22 or a 22 Magnum. And yet you're getting some really good self-defense ballistics. And so it makes it very appealing for those who want light recoil, those who are sensitive to recoil, or those that are new shooters. And it's a very flat trajectory. Out of the rifle, you can get 200 yards. Out of a pistol, definitely considerably less than that. But still, it's a very accurate round. But there's a number of different carbines and small rifles that are being produced in 5.7. Now, one of the big problems with 5.7 right now is that the price is pretty high. In fact, it's about $50 a box, and that's what I've been paying for it, even at PSA, which they have it there. It was funny, I was looking at one of my older videos for the FN 5.7, and I quoted $16.99 for a box of ammunition. So hopefully this will come back down to at least a more reasonable price. But at this point right now, this is what we're getting. But it's a very high-performing round. Now, one of the big things about using this as a self-defense option is you need to make sure your ammo is self-defense ready. And we'll take a look at that when we do our tabletop. But again, guys, this is a real pleasure to shoot at the range. It's very easy. The recoil is mild. One thing, though, is that it does have quite a bit of sound to it. I mean, it's pretty loud. But man, it is a lot of fun to shoot. Now, Palmetto State Armory has just released the PSA Rock 5.7, and we really appreciate those guys for sending the Rock 57 for this review. Now, the beautiful thing about the 5.7 caliber is that it's thinner than your 9mm, thinner than a lot of your self-defense calibers. So you're going to be able to get more rounds in your magazine. In fact, 23 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. That's going to give you a lot of capability, a lot of ammunition. And of course, you do get 2 magazines with the pistol. Now, there are some plus sides, there are some downsides, and we're going to try to go through it. But for the 5.7 caliber, it's really hung in there, and it's getting more and more popularity because there are a lot of great features of the 5.7 caliber. The 5.7 by 28 is in the middle, the 5.56 or 223 is here on the right, and then we have 9mm. And it's 30% less recoil than your 9mm, so it's going to be really softer shooting, a lot less muzzle flip. When it comes to the 5.56 or the 223, you're getting considerably more velocity, but you're typically shooting that out of a rifle or a pistol with a brace on it. There's no actual parent case for the 5.7, but it was designed really close to the 22 Hornet. But now the Rock is taking on that Palmetto State Armory look, and with the dagger, which we have one right here, same kind of lines, designs, a lot of the cuts. It's nice to see Palmetto State Armory really starting to have their own style. With the regular AR-15s, I mean, there's a lot of different ones out there, but this is giving Palmetto State a little bit of a different look. I think we're going to be seeing more things coming. Now this one has one of the Wheaton Arms flat face triggers and one of their barrels, so it's not quite stock, but this takes all of your Glock parts. But with that styling, I mean, the texturing right here is excellent. I mean, it is really soft in a sense, but once you grip it, I mean, it gives you a lot of gripability with it. You don't slip, there's no movement. I mean, it just bites down. It's not slick. And we also have memory pads right here at the top. Now let's go ahead and drop our 23 round magazine, which is all steel. This is a proprietary magazine from Palmetto State Armory. This does not fit the Ruger 5.7 or the 5.7, it fits it. So there is a little bit of a difference, and your standard FN magazines don't fit as well. But they're fairly reasonable in price. And I don't have a price for them yet, but I've heard through the grapevine that they're going to be very reasonable, which is typical for PSA. We're going to check our chamber, and the gun's empty. Now, one of the things about it, because of the 5.7 round and because of its length, you know, you've got to have a magazine that's kind of long, and it's longer than a lot of your other self-defense calibers, and that makes this part of the grip a little bit longer. But it also is very thin, and you have some palm swells here that are really nice. It fits in your hand nice, but it's definitely a bit of a larger pistol. This is not something for concealed carry. And the magazine goes in. You can see the little small lips here in case you have any kind of malfunction. You can just pull those out. And you have your Palmetto State logo on the bottom. The slide is a QPQ, or quenched, polished, quenched finish, but it's really close to black nitride, which is going to hold up really well. Your magazine release is steel. It's right here. It can be switched to the other side, and then you have your slide stop right here, and you can just engage it really easily, but it's not ambidextrous. And of course, these panels I love because I can put my finger. It's just a memory pad almost. Put it right here when I want to get my finger out of the trigger guard, and also when you have that two-handed grip, it gives you a place to put your thumb. And it holds right next to the frame, which helps mitigate recoil, but guys, seriously, on this pistol, there is little recoil. Your takedown tabs are a little bit different. They're right here, and we'll show you when we disassemble it. Picatinny rail, you have 3 slots, and then you have more of an angled kind of a hook on the trigger guard, ample room for gloved hands, and then it has a nice undercut right here with a small little finger groove. And then it goes down and it kind of bows out a little bit. You've got your real high ride right here, so you're able to get high up on the pistol. Much lower bore axis than your FN 5.7 for sure. That has a really high bore axis. But this gets it down there really close to your hand. The sights are 3-dot, and I believe these are Glock compatible sights, but they are steel, and they show up really well. Slick on the top. I love the slide. It has a beautiful finish to it. Front and rear cocking serrations, and really because of the weight of the spring, it doesn't take a lot to pull that back. The trigger is with the blade safety, and that way you've got to actually depress the trigger to be able to fire it. And it is fairly straight down, more than a curved trigger. And we'll look at the trigger action, but it really has a nice clean break to it. I mean, the styling on the slide is really nice. I mean, it's been well done. I mean, they have the cut down here and on either side, so it just gives it a really nice look to the pistol all on its own. Now, again, it is a fairly large pistol, as you can see, but it's definitely such a soft shooting handgun. I have done a review on the FN 5.7. I really like the pistol. It's very unorthodox, though. It's a different type pistol. It's a little bit clunky, and it's expensive. So when Ruger introduced their 5.7, I was really interested in getting a hold of one. And these are considerably less than the FNs. And to me, honestly, more shootable. I like this handgun, but it does have an internal hammer, so the trigger pull is a little bit more involved than the PSA. This is a striker-fired pistol. But overall, this is a really nice shooting gun. I really like it. And to be honest, it's about the same size as the PSA Rock, maybe a little bit larger. I think it comes out about 3/4 of an inch, but the grips are the same. Now this one has a 20 round capacity, while your PSA has a 23 round capacity. And again, these magazines do not interchange. But this is what got me started back into the 5.7. And then, of course, when PSA introduced this, and we'll talk about the price, but that's one of the things that's really appealing about the PSA, is it comes in at a more reasonable price. And you're going to need that considering the price of the 5.7 at this point. We are going to be doing a comparison review with the Ruger 5.7 with the PSA Rock 5.7. And also we're going to add in the Rock Island Armory TCM 22, which is one of my favorite calibers. And they are very close. And so we're going to do some ballistic tests. We're going to do some gel tests and some different things just to see the differences. But this is going to come in at a totally different pistol design than the 22 TCM at this point. Now let's check the trigger pull action. We have a little bit of take up right here. It's really short take up. I mean, it's right there and it hits the wall. And a really crisp break. Reset right there. Really nice reset. That is really a nice trigger. Trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 5 pounds, 5.3 ounces. 5 pounds, 5.7 ounces. Now I do want to talk about the magazines. They do have witness holes all the way down to 23 rounds. Very nicely formed metal magazines. Now one of the downsides is definitely ammo cost at this point. 5.7's running about $50 a box. Picked up some Federal at the PSA, also some FN. And one thing I like though is the way it loads. It loads from the top, just like your AR-15. In fact, it looks like a mini 5.56 or 223. But that makes it really easy to load. And these magazines, again, are similar to your steel AR-15 mags. But when you're loading 23 rounds, it'd be nice to use a Maglula, but it's not really difficult to push those in. And this being $1 a round, we're not going to be doing any mag dumps. Maybe one. Now when it comes to 5.7, I've done a full review on the FN 5.7, also the Ruger 5.7. Great shooting guns. One thing I like about the Ruger is that it's a lot less expensive than the FN. And I kind of really like the design a little bit better. The FN is a little bit different. It's just got a different look to it, a different feel to it. But again, it's really expensive. When it came to the Rock, this is a great shooting gun. The ergonomics are fantastic. I love the grip on this, that texturing. They are fairly large pistols, but they have this really large round and really going at really incredible velocities, and yet the recoil is about nothing. We really enjoyed shooting it. It's just a super flat shooting gun, but you can feel the power coming out of the end. With this length, it's very pointable, and I'm just curious to see what Palmetto State Armory is going to come up next, if they're going to expand this line or not. A nice red dot would be great. To be honest with you, these are my first shots, and recoil super mild, which I've shot 5.7 before, but you have that really high velocity, so it's loud, and if you're shooting it without hearing protection, you're going to know it. But such a smooth shooting gun, and yet a fairly effective caliber, being 5.7. And you know, it was designed as a small arms close-in combat cartridge, so, but man, that thing, the force coming out does not seem like the recoil that you're getting back. Just a real smooth shooting gun. Now guys, we put about 250 rounds through the Rock, and that's less than what I like to usually typically put through them. But with the cost of ammo being about $1 a piece, that was $250. And I've been buying this up as I can at $50 a box. But as far as reliability goes, we had one malfunction. And guys, other than that one malfunction or that failure to eject, that was the only issue that we had the whole time. Granted, it is a limited round count and we'll know more coming up. But overall, I mean, it was just a smooth shooting gun. But guys, when it comes to accuracy, this thing is a beast. Now, as far as disassembly, we're going to drop our magazine, check the chamber, it's empty. These are your takedown tabs, and so you want to first pull your trigger, take your takedown tabs. What I do is I pull back a little bit and then pull forward, and then it comes right off of the rail. And if you'll notice, there are tabs here and here that correspond with your rails on the firearm. So it's a little bit different, actually kind of like the Canic. And then we take our recoil spring and guide rod, really hefty spring, all steel. And then we take out our barrel. Now, one of the things about this barrel is it's fluted, and so it's going to lessen the weight. But it's really more of a blowback type striker fire pistol. So it has kind of a unique design. The inside of the slide is beautiful. I mean, the finishing on this is just like a mirror finish almost. I mean, they really did a great job. There's no tooling marks. And then when it goes to the frame, again, we've got our locking block here and our rails, and then back here are our rails. And so it's a little bit different. They fit on the inside into the frame, which is a little bit different than your standard pistol, but it still pretty much works the same. And then, of course, you have your slide rails all the way through the slide. But that's pretty much all you need to do to field strip. For reassembly, we're going to bring in our barrel, bring in our recoil spring. Now, you notice this little tab. You want to depress it when you engage your recoil spring. And then just take the pistol and look for those little tabs, drop it, and you spring it back. And it goes right back into place. So it's really simple, and just doesn't take much time. The hardest thing that I had to overcome was pulling down the tabs and actually pulling it back a little bit so it would go forward. So that may be a trick if you're having any kind of issues. But overall, very simple design, and yet for a really cool caliber. As far as ammo choices, there are a lot that have been developed. In 2022, I don't know what the ammo situation is with 5.7 by 28 because there has been a pretty big disruption. And guys, I'm sure that there's other ammunition out there, and as more ammunition becomes available again, which it has been, these rounds are going to be more available. One thing about the Federal is I'm seeing it a lot, and so it's really good to see it, but again, it is fairly expensive at this point. So $1 a round, and some of these are going to even go up above that. In fact, I believe the FN was about $60 a box, so it'll just add a little bit to it. The R&R weapon systems, and this is a 40 grain bullet, but it's fragmented, and it has a jacketed hollow point, and this is really an excellent self-defense round. So you really want something that will penetrate, but you also want something that will expand, especially in these calibers. But another option is to save your brass, and you can reload because it is a centerfire caliber. And one of the things about this compared to a 22 Magnum is the 22 Magnum is rim-fired. It's not going to be as reliable as your centerfire ammunition. Plus, the velocities are not anywhere near your 5.7 by 28. Now, it comes in this really nice soft case. Has an identity tag here with PSA. Then when we open it up, here we've got your pistol. It is secured into the case. Even has a muzzle guard at the front. And you have magazine pouches here and here. And we have our lock. You have a chamber flag. And then here in this little sleeve, we have our owner's manual. So a really nice setup by PSA. Now, pros and cons. Price is a big one. These are coming in at $4.99, and that's what they're going to be, $4.99. So just a much cheaper price than even your Ruger 5.7, which was coming in about $750. I think I paid $800 for it when it first came out. Magazines are going to be fairly easy to get once they get into full production, and they should be at a reasonable price. I wish I could quote you the price, but typically PSA will come in, again, very reasonably. It's a full-featured gun. You have your front and rear cocking serrations, your pick rail. The trigger is excellent. Your sights, being Glock compatible, that makes it really nice. There's a lot of different things you can do. And I like the texturing. It's not too harsh, but yet it counts where you need it. 23 rounds of ammunition in the magazine. That is a huge plus, and they could possibly even make extensions as well. The 5.7 caliber. It's excellent for a self-defense caliber, especially for those who are recoil sensitive. Very light recoil, very little muzzle rise, and great for first-time shooters or those who don't have a lot of experience. Of course, one of the things, though, as a con, is the ammunition right now at this point is really expensive. I mean, $49 a box is what I'm paying for it. And what I've been doing is when I go into PSA, I'll just grab a box of 5.7 and just put it back. for the review. And I've got quite a bit. In fact, I've got enough for the upcoming review, but it is expensive. It is also a fairly larger firearm. That's no different than the FN57 or the Ruger 57. I mean, they're just a little bit larger pistols. So this would be more of a home defense type firearm or, you know, a duty type pistol. They are proven militarily. I mean, Europe, and these are approved by NATO for self-defense combat rounds. So you've got that going for it. And there are a lot of different choices of ammo out there, but availability is a little bit sketchy right now. Hopefully we'll get back into it. As far as reliability, we had one malfunction, and it just didn't eject the round. That could have possibly been ammo related, but other than that, we didn't have any problems. But again, we only shot about 250 rounds. Now I'm really wanting to compare this head to head at the range with the Ruger 57, maybe even the FN 57. And then also the 22 TCM by Rock Island Armory. That is a great little round that's really screaming coming out the end of the barrel. And so we're going to do some testing with these to check out these really high velocity performers, if they're good for self-defense. And two, if it is, this would be a great gun for beginning shooters. In fact, it's a great gun for beginning shooters now. I mean, taking them out to the range, you know, 22 is great. This gives you a little more power. But again, the biggest deal is the ammo is a lot more expensive, especially 22. But it sure is a lot of fun. And we really appreciate Palmetto State Armory for sending the PSA Rock 57 for this review. Rubber Dummies is one of the best training tools on the market, and you get a 10% discount using Sootch00 when you click the link down in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. Bit of the linkages right there, and then I don't know, wonder it's not caught. And we'll take a talk, and we'll talk it. And then I just pull back and forward. It's a neck down version of, I don't have the dang caliper cartridge. And then forward, and then it comes right off the slide. Okay, let's do that again. That was really ugly and awkward and just goofy. I mean, that's just crazy. And so I don't want to say all that yet.